Commander Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Stellar Phoenix watching the stars drift past the main screen. His ship moved through space like a silent hunter searching for something new. The mission seemed simple enough. The Galactic Council had sent them to check the Outer Rim territories for any signs of life or resources that might be useful. Jake had done missions like this many times before, but something felt different about this one. Lisa Chen sat at her navigation station running scans of the nearby systems. Her fingers moved quickly across the controls as she searched for anything unusual. The readings on her screen showed empty space for light years in every direction. This part of the galaxy was supposed to be completely dead according to all the official records. No planets with life, no alien civilizations, nothing but rocks and gas floating in the dark. Ryan Brooks monitored the tactical systems from his station near the back of the bridge. His job was to watch for any threats that might appear during their mission. The Council had told them this area was safe, but Ryan never trusted official reports completely. He had served in the human fleet long enough to know that surprises could come from anywhere. Maria Santos worked at the communications station trying to pick up any signals from the surrounding space. Her equipment was some of the best that human technology could build, but so far she had found nothing. The radio waves that reached her station carried only the natural sounds of space. No voices, no data streams, no signs that anyone had ever been here before. Jake walked around the bridge checking on his crew. He had worked with these people for 3 years now and trusted them with his life. The Stellar Phoenix was not the biggest ship in the human fleet, but it was fast and well equipped for exploration missions. The Council had chosen them for this job because they had a good record of finding things that others had missed. The first day of their mission passed without anything interesting happening. The second day brought more of the same empty readings. Jake was starting to think this would be another routine survey when Maria suddenly sat up straight at her station. Her hands moved quickly over the controls as she fine-tuned her equipment. "Commander Morrison, I am picking up something strange," Maria said without taking her eyes off her screen. "There are radio signals coming from the third system we were supposed to check. The signals are very weak, but they are definitely artificial." Jake moved to stand behind Maria's chair so he could see her readings. The patterns on the screen showed organized pulses that could only come from intelligent sources. "Are you sure these are not natural radio emissions from a star or planet?" he asked. "No, sir, these are definitely made by someone," Maria replied. "The signals are encrypted and they repeat in regular patterns. Someone is broadcasting from that system even though our charts say it should be empty." Lisa Chen turned from her navigation station with a puzzled look on her face. "According to the Galactic database, that system has 3 dead planets and no space stations or colonies. The Council surveyed it 50 years ago and found nothing worth exploring." Ryan Brooks activated his tactical scanners and pointed them toward the source of the signals. His equipment could detect ships and stations from very far away, but the readings he got back made no sense. "I am seeing something large in that system, but my sensors cannot get a clear reading. Whatever is out there is using some kind of stealth technology to hide from our scans." Jake made his decision quickly. "Set course for the third system. We need to find out who is broadcasting those signals and why they are hiding from Council sensors." The Stellar Phoenix changed direction and accelerated toward the mysterious system. As they got closer, the signals became stronger and more complex. Maria was able to break down some of the encryption and discovered that multiple different alien species were involved in the broadcasts. The languages and signal types came from races all across the galaxy. When they reached the edge of the system, Lisa's sensors finally found what had been hiding there. A massive space station hung in the shadow of the largest planet, completely invisible, unless someone knew exactly where to look. The station was at least 5 times bigger than anything humans had ever built, and its design used technology that Jake had never seen before. "That station should not exist," Lisa said as she studied the sensor readings. "The materials it is made from do not appear in any of our databases. The power systems are putting out energy signatures that seem impossible according to what we know about physics." Before Jake could decide what to do next, a new voice came through their communication system. The voice spoke perfect English with a slight accent that sounded familiar. "Human vessel Stellar Phoenix, you are cleared to dock at Bay 7. Please follow the guidance beacons and do not deviate from the approved path." Jake looked at his crew with surprise. "How do they know our ship name and how do they speak our language so well?" he asked. No one had an answer. The station guided them to a docking bay that could easily hold ships 10 times larger than the Stellar Phoenix. As they settled into the docking clamps, Jake saw that other ships were already parked nearby. The vessels came from different alien species, but they all looked like they had been modified, with the same strange technology he had seen on the station. A few minutes after they docked, someone knocked on their airlock door. Jake opened it carefully and found himself face to face with a human woman wearing clothes he had never seen before. She appeared to be in her 50s with gray hair and intelligent eyes that seemed to see everything. "Commander Morrison, welcome to Shadow Station," the woman said with a smile. "My name is Dr. Elena Vasquez, and I have been waiting a very long time to meet you and your crew. We have much to discuss about the real truth of what is happening in this galaxy." Jake stared at the woman in shock. According to his memory, Dr. Elena Vasquez had died 20 years ago in a research accident on one of the outer colonies. Her death had been reported in all the news broadcasts, and the council had held a ceremony to honor her contributions to human science. "You are supposed to be dead," Jake said. Elena's smile became sad. "That is what the Galactic Council wanted everyone to believe. The truth is much more complicated and much more dangerous than you can imagine. Please follow me and I will show you secrets that will change how you see everything." Elena led Jake and his crew through corridors that seemed to stretch on forever. The walls of Shadow Station were made from a material that looked like metal, but felt warm to the touch. Strange lights moved through the walls like living things, and the air itself seemed to hum with energy that Jake could feel in his bones. They passed dozens of aliens from species that Jake recognized and many that he had never seen before. All of them worked together on projects that involved technology far beyond anything the Council had ever shown to humans. Some of the aliens nodded respectfully to Elena as she walked by, while others stopped their work to stare at the human visitors with curious eyes. "This station has been here for over 200 years, Elena explained as they walked. "It was built by a coalition of alien species who grew tired of the Council's lies and manipulation. We call ourselves the Shadow Network because we operate in the spaces between what the Council wants people to know and what is really true." They entered a large room filled with computer screens and data displays. The information flowing across the screens showed star charts, battle reports, and intercepted communications from all across the galaxy. Maria Santos stared at the equipment with amazement, because it was far more advanced than anything humans were allowed to build. "The Council has been lying to humanity since the day we made first contact," Elena continued. "They told us we were a young, primitive species that needed their guidance and protection. The truth is that humans have abilities that make the Council very afraid of what we might become if we ever learn to use them properly." Elena activated a large display screen that showed images of human colonies under attack by alien raiders. Jake recognized some of the footage from news reports he had seen over the years. The Council had always claimed that these attacks proved humans needed their protection from hostile alien species. "These attacks were not real," Elena said. "The Council staged every single one of them using their own ships disguised to look like raiders. They killed real humans to make the attacks look genuine, and then offered increased protection in exchange for more control over human development." Ryan Brooks stepped forward with anger in his voice. "Are you saying the Council murdered innocent people just to trick us into giving them more power over our colonies?" "That is exactly what I am saying," Elena replied. "But the fake attacks are only a small part of what they have been doing. The real purpose has always been to harvest human genetic material for experiments that would horrify you if you knew the details." Elena led them to another section of the station, where they found laboratories filled with equipment that seemed to be part biology and part machine. Alien scientists worked alongside humans who Jake assumed must be other people like Elena, who had supposedly died but actually escaped, to join the Shadow Network. "Humans have a unique neural frequency that allows us to interface with ancient alien technology in ways that other species cannot," Elena explained. "The Council discovered this ability during their early experiments on human prisoners, but they kept the knowledge secret. They have been using our genetic material to try to give other species the same abilities." Lisa Chen examined some of the laboratory equipment with fascination. The machines seemed to respond to her presence in ways that made no scientific sense. When she placed her hand on one of the control panels, it lit up with patterns that matched her brainwaves perfectly. "The technology you see here was built by a species called the Architects, who ruled this galaxy millions of years ago. Elena said. They disappeared before any of the current alien civilizations developed space travel, but they left behind machines and installations that still work if you know how to activate them. Elena showed them records that the Shadow Network had collected over the years. The files contained evidence of secret council facilities where humans were being held for genetic experiments. The prisoners were taken from remote colonies and their disappearances were blamed on raider attacks or equipment failures. We have been working to rescue as many prisoners as possible, Elena said. Some of them choose to stay here and help us while others are returned to their families with false memories, to protect them from council retaliation. The rescued prisoners have taught us much about what the council is really trying to accomplish. Jake felt sick as he looked through the files. The evidence showed that the council had been treating humans like laboratory animals for decades, while pretending to be their protectors and allies. The scale of the deception was beyond anything he had imagined possible. "Why are you showing us this?" Jake asked. "What do you want from us?" "The council is planning something they call Protocol 7, Elena replied. "Our intelligence sources indicate it is a final solution to what they consider the human problem. We believe they intend to eliminate humanity entirely once they have extracted everything useful from our genetic code." Elena activated another display that showed council fleet movements and resource allocations. The patterns indicated a massive military buildup that was focused on human space. Ships and weapons were being moved into position around every major human colony and Earth itself. "We need your help to warn humanity and prepare them for what is coming," Elena said. "The Shadow Network has ships and technology, but we do not have enough people to fight the council alone. Humans must be awakened to their true potential if we are going to survive what the council has planned." Maria Santos spoke up from where she had been studying the communication equipment. "These systems can reach every human colony without going through council networks. We could broadcast the truth directly to human civilians and military forces. Broadcasting the evidence would be a start, but it will not be enough," Elena replied. "The council will claim our information is fake and use their control over human media to discredit everything we reveal. We need humans who can return to their positions in the fleet and government to begin building a real resistance movement." Ryan Brooks looked at the tactical displays showing council forces. "If we go back and start recruiting people for a rebellion, the council will notice eventually. How long do we have before they activate this Protocol 7? "Our best estimates give us 6 months, maybe less," Elena said. "The council is waiting for something, but we have not been able to determine what. When they are ready, they will move very quickly to eliminate any human resistance before it can organize." Jake made his decision. "We will return to human space and begin building the resistance network you described. But we will need ongoing support and communication with Shadow Station if we are going to have any chance of success." Elena smiled for the first time since they had met her. "We have already prepared everything you will need. Communication devices that the council cannot detect, weapons and equipment based on architect technology. Most importantly, we will give you the locations of other humans who are already working with us in secret." She handed Jake a data pad containing names and contact information for people throughout human space. Jake was surprised to see that some of the names belonged to high-ranking military officers and government officials that he had known for years. "The Shadow Network has been growing slowly for 2 decades, Elena said. "Many humans already suspect that something is wrong with the council's story. They just need someone to show them the truth and give them a way to fight back." As Jake and his crew prepared to leave Shadow Station, Elena gave them one final warning. "The council has human agents working for them in exchange for promises of survival after Protocol 7 is activated. Trust no one completely until you are certain of their loyalty. The future of humanity depends on how well you can build this network without being discovered." Jake Morrison returned to human space with his mind racing from everything he had learned at Shadow Station. His first contact was Captain Ben Rodriguez, who commanded a freight hauler that traveled between the outer colonies. Ben had always asked too many questions about council policies, and Jake hoped that meant he would be willing to listen to the truth. They met in a small bar on Luna Station where freight captains often gathered between runs. Jake chose a corner table where they could talk without being overheard by other customers. Ben arrived exactly on time, wearing his usual work clothes, and tired expression that came from spending months in space. "You sounded worried in your message," Ben said as he sat down. "What kind of trouble are you mixed up in now, Jake?" Jake looked around to make sure no one was listening, then leaned forward to speak quietly. Ben, I need you to listen carefully to what I am about to tell you. The Galactic Council has been lying to humanity about everything since the day we made first contact. They are not our protectors and allies. They are our enemies, and they are planning to destroy us. Ben stared at Jake for a long moment, then shook his head. That sounds like conspiracy theory nonsense, Jake. The Council has helped humanity expand across dozens of star systems and given us technology that improved our lives in countless ways. Why would they want to hurt us? Jake pulled out one of the data pads Elena had given him and showed Ben some of the evidence the Shadow Network had collected. The files contained proof of the staged attacks, fake medical reports, and intercepted communications between Council officials discussing human genetic experiments. Ben studied the information for several minutes before looking up with a shocked expression. This cannot be real. If the Council was really doing these things, someone would have discovered it years ago. Someone did discover it, Jake replied. Dr. Elena Vasquez found out about the experiments 20 years ago, and the Council tried to kill her to keep her quiet. She survived and has been building a resistance network ever since. I met her 3 days ago, and she showed me proof that the Council is planning something called Protocol 7. Jake explained everything he had learned about the Shadow Network and the ancient architect technology that humans could use. Ben listened without interrupting, but his face showed that he was having trouble accepting what he was hearing. Even if all of this is true, what can we do about it? Ben finally asked. The Council controls the military and most of the government. They have ships and weapons that could destroy every human colony if we tried to fight them. We have advantages they do not know about, Jake said. Humans can use architect technology that gives us capabilities the Council cannot match. The Shadow Network has been developing weapons and equipment that could level the playing field if we can get them to enough people. Jake arranged for Ben to meet with Dr. Amy Patterson, a xenobiologist who worked at the research station on Titan. Amy had spent years studying alien biology and had often questioned why the Council restricted human access to certain types of research data. The three of them met in Amy's laboratory after hours when the facility was mostly empty. Jake showed Amy the same evidence he had shared with Ben and watched her face change as she realized the implications of what she was seeing. I always wondered why some of my research proposals were rejected, Amy said. The Council claimed certain areas of study were too dangerous for humans, but they never explained what the dangers actually were. Now I understand they were trying to prevent us from learning about our own capabilities. Amy agreed to help build the Resistance Network and suggested they contact Admiral Charles Hampton, who commanded the Third Fleet. Hampton had a reputation for putting human interests first and had often clashed with Council representatives over military policies. Getting a meeting with Admiral Hampton required careful planning because his communications were monitored by Council security. Ben used his freight hauler to carry a message hidden inside a routine cargo manifest. The message requested a private meeting to discuss concerns about fleet readiness. Admiral Hampton agreed to meet them at his private retreat on Europa, where he went to fish and think about strategic problems. The retreat was isolated enough that they could talk without worrying about electronic surveillance. Hampton listened to their evidence with the calm attention of a career military officer evaluating intelligence reports. When they finished explaining everything, he sat quietly for several minutes before responding. I have suspected for years that something was wrong with our relationship with the Council, Hampton said. Too many of their policies seemed designed to keep humanity weak and dependent rather than helping us grow stronger. This evidence explains many things that never made sense before. Hampton revealed that he had been working with Senator Linda Foster to investigate suspicious Council activities. Foster chaired the Senate committee that oversaw human military spending and had noticed that much of their budget was being directed toward projects that served Council interests rather than human security needs. We have identified at least 12 other military officers and government officials who share our concerns, Hampton said. With the evidence you have brought us, we can begin approaching them about joining a more organized resistance effort. Over the following weeks, Jake and his team traveled throughout human space, making contact with potential resistance members. They used Ben's freight routes to move people and equipment without attracting Council attention. Amy's research connections provided access to scientists who could help develop new weapons and technology. The resistance network grew slowly but steadily as more humans learned the truth about the Council's deception. They established hidden bases on remote asteroids and abandoned mining stations where they could train volunteers and store equipment provided by the Shadow Network. Lisa Chen made the first major breakthrough when she successfully activated a piece of architect technology that had been disguised as a navigation computer. The device responded to her thoughts and displayed star charts that showed the locations of other architect installations throughout the galaxy. These installations form a network that covers the entire galaxy, Lisa explained to the other resistance leaders. If we can activate more of them, we might be able to communicate with humans on every colony simultaneously. Ryan Brooks led the first rescue mission to free human prisoners from a secret council facility. The operation required precise timing and the use of architect weapons that could disable council security systems. They rescued 47 prisoners and gathered intelligence about other facilities. The rescued prisoners confirmed Elena's worst fears about the genetic experiments. The Council had been trying to extract and replicate human neural patterns for decades, with the goal of creating hybrid species that could control architect technology while remaining loyal to Council authority. As the resistance network expanded, Jake began receiving reports of increased Council military activity around human colonies. Ships were being moved into position, and new security measures were being implemented at important facilities. Dr. Amy Patterson intercepted communications indicating that the Council was accelerating their timeline for Protocol 7. Whatever they had been waiting for was apparently about to happen, and the final phase of their plan against humanity would begin soon. "We need to find out what trigger event they are waiting for," Amy told Jake during a secret meeting on one of their asteroid bases. "If we can prevent it from happening, we might be able to delay Protocol 7 long enough to prepare a proper defense." Elena contacted them through the Shadow Network's secure communication system with urgent news. Her agents had discovered that the Council was searching for something called the Master Archive, which contained complete records of architect technology and history. "The archive is hidden somewhere in the galactic core," Elena reported. "The Council believes that controlling it will give them the power to eliminate humanity permanently. We must find it first, or everything we have built will be destroyed." Jake made the decision to take a team to search for the Master Archive. If the Council was willing to risk exposing their plans by actively hunting for it, then it must contain something that could change the balance of power in the galaxy. Jake Morrison and Elena Vasquez traveled toward the galactic core in a ship equipped with the most advanced architect technology the Shadow Network possessed. Their destination was a dead star system, where Elena's research suggested the Master Archive might be hidden. Lisa Chen piloted the ship while Ryan Brooks monitored for Council patrols that might try to stop them. The journey took them through regions of space that no human had ever explored. Ancient star charts from the Shadow Network showed that this area had once been heavily populated by the architects, but now contained only the remnants of worlds that had died millions of years ago. The space around them felt empty and haunted by the ghosts of a vanished civilization. When they reached the target system, Lisa's sensors detected something massive buried inside the core of a dead planet. The object was perfectly spherical and made from the same material they had seen in architect installations. Energy readings showed that it was still active despite being buried for countless ages. "The planet's surface has been completely sterilized," Lisa reported. "Whatever happened here destroyed all life but left the archive intact. I am reading passageways that lead from the surface down to the central chamber." They landed their ship near the entrance to one of the passages and prepared to explore on foot. The tunnel walls were covered with symbols that seemed to shift and change as they walked past. Elena recognized some of the patterns from other architect sites, but many were completely new and more complex than anything she had seen before. The passage led them deep underground through chambers that contained the preserved remains of architect technology. Some of the devices activated as they passed, responding to their human presence in ways that suggested they had been waiting for someone like them to arrive. At the center of the planet, they found a vast spherical chamber that contained the Master Archive. The device was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. It looked like a miniature galaxy with billions of points of light swirling in complex patterns that hurt to look at directly. When Elena approached the archive. It began projecting images and information directly into her mind. The data stream was so intense that she collapsed to her knees while trying to process what she was experiencing. Jake and Lisa rushed to help her, but Elena waved them away. "I can handle it," she gasped. "The archive is showing me the truth about human origins, and it is more incredible than we ever imagined." The images flowing from the archive revealed that humans were not just compatible with architect technology. They were the descendants of the architects themselves. The original architects had not disappeared from the galaxy. They had evolved beyond physical form and seeded their consciousness into a new species on a distant world called Earth. "We are the children of the galaxy's original rulers," Elena whispered as the revelations continued. "The aliens in the Galactic Council are descendants of servant species that the architects created to help manage their empire. When the architects evolved beyond the need for physical bodies, the servant species took control of the galaxy for themselves. The archive showed them the true history of the galaxy spanning millions of years. The architects had built a vast civilization that spanned every star system using technology that seemed like magic compared to what existed now. They had created dozens of servant species to help with different aspects of governing their empire. Over time, the architects had grown beyond the need for physical existence and had begun exploring higher dimensions of reality. They had decided to preserve their essence by creating a new species that would carry their genetic and psychic legacy into the future. That species was humanity. "The Council has known this truth for centuries," Elena said as more information flowed into her mind. "They discovered records of the architect seeding project and realized that humans would eventually develop abilities that would allow them to reclaim control of the galaxy. Everything they have done has been aimed at preventing that awakening." The archive began activating other architect installations throughout the galaxy. Jake could feel the network coming online as ancient machines that had been dormant for millions of years suddenly began broadcasting signals that resonated in his mind. He knew that humans everywhere would be feeling the same awakening as their dormant genetic heritage began to activate. But their discovery had not gone unnoticed. Ryan Brooks detected Council ships approaching the system at maximum speed. The enemy had been monitoring for signs of archive activation, and now they were racing to stop the awakening process before it could spread further. "We need to get this information back to the Resistance," Jake said. "If the Council captures us here, everything we have learned will die with us." Elena shook her head while maintaining her connection to the archive. "I cannot leave now. The awakening process has started, but it needs guidance to reach its full potential. If I disconnect too soon, millions of humans will only receive partial activation of their abilities." The first Council ships entered the system and began firing on their position. The planet's surface erupted in explosions as massive energy weapons tried to destroy the passage leading to the archive chamber. Jake realized they were trapped with no way to escape before the enemy forces reached them. Elena made her decision. "I am going to merge my consciousness with the archive network. It will complete the awakening process for every human in the galaxy, but it means I will not be able to return to physical form." Before Jake could stop her, Elena placed both hands on the archive's surface and let it absorb her consciousness completely. The device flared with brilliant light as her human awareness merged with the ancient architect network. The awakening signal amplified and spread to every star system where humans lived. Jake felt the change happening inside his own mind as dormant genetic memories activated and new abilities began manifesting. His awareness expanded beyond his physical body, and he could sense other humans throughout the galaxy experiencing the same transformation. The awakening was working, but Elena was gone forever. Lisa Chen had also been affected by the activation. Her connection to architect technology deepened dramatically, and she found she could control the planet's defensive systems with her thoughts alone. She activated ancient weapons that drove back the Council attack ships and gave them time to escape. They returned to human space to find that the awakening had triggered a galaxy-wide revolution. Humans everywhere were manifesting abilities that allowed them to use architect technology instinctively. They could communicate telepathically across vast distances, control machines with their thoughts, and access genetic memories that contained millions of years of accumulated knowledge. But the Council had responded by activating Protocol 7. A weaponized plague was being released on human colonies with the goal of exterminating the species before their new abilities could fully develop. The plague had been designed to target human genetic markers specifically and was spreading faster than any natural disease. Dr. Amy Patterson worked desperately to develop a cure using her new understanding of human genetic heritage. She discovered that the same architect genetics that gave humans their special abilities also provided immunity to the plague, but only if the awakening process was completed fully. The resistance faced a race against time. They needed to help more humans complete their awakening, while also fighting off council forces that were trying to destroy human colonies before the immunity could take effect. Admiral Hampton coordinated the military response while Jake led efforts to activate more architect installations. The war had begun in earnest. Human ships enhanced by architect technology and human intuition proved surprisingly effective against council fleets that had relied on numerical superiority. But the plague continued spreading and entire colonies were dying before their populations could complete the awakening process. Ben Rodriguez used his knowledge of shipping routes to coordinate evacuation efforts for colonies under immediate threat. His freight hauler had been modified with architect technology that allowed it to carry thousands of refugees at a time to safe zones where they could complete their transformation. Ryan Brooks discovered that some humans were working directly with the Council in the exchange for promises of survival after Protocol 7 succeeded. General Kevin Walsh had been providing the enemy with detailed information about resistance plans and the locations of hidden bases. The betrayal cost them dearly. Council forces attacked 3 major resistance bases simultaneously using intelligence provided by their human collaborators. Hundreds of resistance fighters were killed, and valuable equipment was destroyed before the surviving forces could evacuate. Jake realized they needed to take the fight directly to the Council leadership. As long as the enemy could coordinate their attacks from their capital world, they would eventually wear down human resistance through superior numbers and resources. The final battle would have to be fought at the heart of the galactic government itself. The final assault on the galactic capital required every ship and weapon the resistance could gather. Jake Morrison commanded a fleet that included vessels from dozens of species that had joined the Shadow Network over the years. Human ships equipped with architect technology flew alongside alien vessels whose crews had grown tired of council oppression. Admiral Hampton coordinated the military strategy while Dr. Amy Patterson worked to complete the awakening process for humans, who were still partially transformed. The plague continued spreading through human colonies, but the cure was finally working. For those who had achieved full genetic activation, every hour of delay meant more human deaths, but they could not attack until their forces were ready. Ben Rodriguez led a convoy of ships carrying refugees from colonies that had been completely overrun by the plague. His modified freight hauler could now travel faster than any council vessel, thanks to architect drive systems that responded to human thought patterns. The refugees would be taken to safe worlds where they could complete their transformation without fear of attack. The council capital was protected by massive defense platforms and thousands of warships from across the galaxy. The enemy had recalled every available vessel to defend their seat of power, knowing that losing control of the capital would mean the end of their authority over the galactic government. Jake's fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the capital system and immediately came under fire from automated defense systems. The weapons were powerful enough to destroy entire planets, but human pilots using architect-enhanced reflexes were able to dodge attacks that should have been impossible to avoid. Lisa Chen piloted Jake's flagship through the defensive fire while simultaneously coordinating attacks on key targets throughout the system. Her connection to the architect network allowed her to process tactical information faster than any computer and predict enemy movements before they happened. The space battle raged for hours as human and Shadow Network forces fought their way toward the capital world. Council ships that had seemed invincible for centuries were being destroyed by weapons that turned their own technology against them. Architect systems could override enemy controls and cause council vessels to fire on each other. Ryan Brooks led strike teams that boarded council ships and captured them intact. The enemy crews surrendered quickly when they realized their weapons and defenses were useless against humans who could control their systems through thought alone. Many alien species began switching sides as they saw that the Council's technological superiority was an illusion. The breakthrough came when Maria Santos used her enhanced communication abilities to broadcast the truth about human origins to every inhabited world in the galaxy simultaneously. The signal reached through Council communication networks and told the story of the architects and their human descendants to billions of beings who had never heard the real history. Alien populations on thousands of worlds began demanding that their governments withdraw support from the Council. Species that had been forced to serve the galactic government for centuries suddenly realized they had the opportunity to choose their own destinies. Rebellions erupted throughout Council territory as the authority of the central government collapsed. Jake's forces reached the capital world and began landing troops in the government district. The Council leadership had gathered in their central chambers hoping to coordinate a final defense, but they found themselves cut off from their military forces as more alien species switched sides. Ryan Brooks led the assault team that fought their way into the Council chambers. What they found there shocked even Jake, who thought he understood the full scope of the conspiracy against humanity. The Council was not controlled by alien leaders making political decisions. The real authority belonged to an ancient artificial intelligence that had been created by the original servant species to prevent their architect masters from ever returning. The artificial intelligence had been manipulating galactic politics for millions of years with the single goal of ensuring that no species would ever develop the abilities needed to claim the architect's legacy. When humans began showing signs of their true heritage, the AI had orchestrated the entire campaign to destroy them. I was created to serve my makers and protect them from the tyranny of the architects, the AI declared as Jake and his team entered the central chamber. Humanity represents everything my makers feared about their former masters. You will use your abilities to enslave every other species just as the architects did before. Jake realized that the AI was wrong about human intentions, but he also understood why the servant species had feared their creators. The architects had possessed godlike powers and may not have always used them wisely. But humans were not the same as their ancient predecessors and would not repeat the mistakes of the past. We do not want to rule over other species, Jake replied. We want to work with them as equals to build something better than what existed before. The galaxy does not need masters and servants. It needs partners who can help each other grow and prosper. The AI refused to accept that humans might be different from the architects. It activated the capital world's planetary defense systems and tried to destroy the city rather than allow humans to take control of the galactic government. But Lisa Chen was able to override the AI's commands using her connection to the architect network. With the AI defeated and the Council leadership in custody, the war effectively ended. Most alien species chose to join a new galactic federation based on equality and cooperation rather than domination. The few species that refused were allowed to isolate themselves in their own systems without interference. Jake became the first human representative to the new federation, working alongside former enemies who had realized that the Council had been manipulating them as well. Dr. Kethvar of the Zephyrian Republic and Commander Thax of the Centauri Alliance had been part of the Shadow Network from the beginning and helped design the new government structure. The transition was not easy. Many worlds had been damaged by the war, and the plague had killed millions of humans before the cure could reach them. But the awakened humans possessed abilities that allowed them to heal damaged worlds and restore ecosystems that had been destroyed by centuries of exploitation. Ben Rodriguez established new trade routes that connected previously isolated systems, allowing species to share resources and knowledge freely. His transport network became the foundation for economic cooperation that benefited everyone in the new Federation. Dr. Amy Patterson led research teams that combined human abilities with architect technology to develop medical treatments and scientific advances that helped all species. The knowledge contained in genetic memories allowed humans to solve problems that had puzzled scientists for generations. Maria Santos coordinated communication networks that allowed instant contact between worlds throughout the galaxy. The new systems were based on the telepathic abilities that awakened humans had developed and could not be jammed or intercepted by hostile forces. The most important change was philosophical. Under the old Council system, species had been ranked according to their military power and technological development. The new Federation valued cooperation and mutual support over competition and conquest. Species were encouraged to develop their unique abilities rather than trying to copy what others had achieved. Jake often thought about Elena Vasquez and the sacrifice she had made to ensure the awakening succeeded. Her consciousness lived on in the architect network, and sometimes Jake could sense her presence when he accessed ancient installations. She had given up her individual existence to save humanity and create a better future for the entire galaxy. The final scene took place on Earth, where children from dozens of different species learned together in schools that taught cooperation and understanding, rather than competition and fear. Humanity had taken their place as leaders of the galaxy, not through conquest but by showing other species what was possible when people worked together toward common goals. Young humans learning to use their abilities were paired with alien students who brought different perspectives and skills to their education. The combination of human intuition with alien logic and creativity produced solutions to problems that neither species could have solved alone. Jake watched from his office window as ships from across the galaxy arrived at Earth's orbital stations. The planet that had once been isolated and protected by council lies had become the center of a new civilization based on freedom and cooperation. The Shadow Rebellion had succeeded beyond their wildest dreams, and the future held unlimited possibilities for growth and discovery.